know we look forward to hearing your presentation.
Cool, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to take you through some of the kind of trends that we're seeing and things to think about when building out ads on Facebook. And I hope from the session that you'll be able to take some inspiration away that you can actually action in the context of your own ads. So a little bit about myself. I'm Chris. I'm an agency partner manager based in Dublin. That's me looking very nerdy at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. But effectively, I manage the relationships with independent agencies in the UK and I market. So I want to take you through 3 key trends that we're seeing on our platform and things that you can really consider in part for strategy when thinking about how you actually engage with your consumers and how they can start engaging with your content. The first one is video. So you're probably all very much aware video content is massive. But ultimately, it's the way that consumers are actually consuming that content that we need to be most aware of. So we've really got 2 key categories here. One is on-the-go viewing. These are kind of admittedly short sessions. They're very unplanned. They're frequent. Who here has kind of taken out their phone in their pocket during a meeting and looked through Instagram stories, for example? These are the type of sessions that we're kind of picking up on there. So this would be someone who's commuting to work, taking very much bite-sized content. Secondly to that, we've got captivated viewing. So this is essentially when someone's at home, they're on their sofa, they've got a lot more time, and ultimately they will engage a lot more with content through the platform. So this is where the sessions are traditionally longer. They're a lot more planned, so you're actually actively maybe watching things that you want to see. They're intentional, and ultimately it's a part of kind of entertainment and relaxation in the evening. The point of the kind of video trend is the fact that 78% of all video data, all data on a mobile will be video by 2021, and 1 in 3 people that we surveyed in the US use smartphones to actually watch that video. So the reasons that we're driving video so much in terms of building out on the platform is because of this, because ultimately people are viewing and consuming that content on the smartphone in a vertical way and through things like stories. What does that mean for you as advertisers? You need to take into consideration the fact that viewing behavior is changing. We've seen in a lot of cases, especially with larger brands typically, who will give us TV creative and simply say, put that on the platform and let's hope that works. What needs to be taken into consideration is the way that people are actually consuming with that. So ultimately, TV ad is very much starting with a message that builds up to maybe the brand at the end. Whereas what we need to consider is that the brand needs to be very much front and center, and we have around 3 seconds to actually capture someone's attention. Secondly to that is that captivated audiences are becoming a lot harder to reach. People's attention spans are kind of waning, and we need to really take that into consideration again when we are thinking about how we capture someone's attention. And then finally, advertisers need to understand the multiple ecosystems of video content. So this is long form, this is short form, and this is the different platforms as well that you need to consider, that you need to be across to capture your user across every stage of the journey. At Facebook, we've invested quite heavily in that ecosystem, specifically with long form content. So what you can see here is we've actually built out Facebook Watch, which is essentially very much like YouTube. So someone would actually go onto here, they would be able to browse interest categories and then view video content that's targeted for them. We've also heavily invested in our publisher content. So this is ads that would be shown across Audience Network. Effectively, this is when you might go and view a news article and then see an ad. We've invested in that network quite heavily. And then finally, non-skippable mid-roll ads. Who finds them quite annoying? I find them quite annoying. We've actually found across tests that they can be very effective. Ultimately, this would lead into, I suppose, more long-form strategy. So you would actually create a short, snappy ad and then drive people to long-form channels like Facebook Watch. So this is it. This is one of the platforms we can use to actually start that strategy. IGTV is another one of those platforms that we can build long-form content on. And this is part of an organic strategy that you can use to actually tell your consumers more about who you are and more about your products. Just some of the numbers in terms of how many people are kind of using this platform and facility. We found that globally, 720 million people are watching 1 minute every month. 140 million people are watching 1 minute every day, and on average, if we take that kind of global audience, around 26 minutes a day is being watched on Facebook Watch. So I just want to leave you with a very quick video.
Introducing Facebook Watch. Just
Tap right here and videos appear. We can watch them together, because that's always better. We can watch with our crew, talk about every issue, find those who love what you love. I love Shaq too. We can watch in new ways and find a new craze. Discussions go deeper, and creators jump in too. So tap here and watch together with people like you. Facebook Watch. Watch together.
Cool. That leads me into trend number 2, which is messaging. And a massive, massive thing that we're seeing is the emergence of conversational commerce, i.e. a means for people to actually communicate and transact with you through messaging facilities. In fact, 87% of global smartphone users are messaging. And ultimately what we need to think about is taking two different completely different ecosystems and combining them together. So one is commerce and one is conversation. And our platform is very much averse to be able to build out strategy on the back of that. One thing I would say about this in particular is there's a number of different factors that need to be taken into consideration when building out a conversation or messaging strategy. You've got the customer service aspect where you're purely communicating with customers in order to answer their questions, or maybe it's post-purchase and you just want to continue that interaction. You've actually got the transactional piece where people can literally pay through the messaging facility, and then you've got a notification aspect as well. Maybe you run events and maybe you just want to simply broadcast a message about something that's happening through one of these spaces. And the point of it is that it's bringing people and businesses closer together. So this is actually increasing lifetime value for you as advertisers. Every business starts with a conversation, so it would only make sense that this would actually kind of transgress to online activity as well. So ultimately, if you haven't adopted a messaging kind of forum where people can easily communicate with you, this is something definitely you need to consider. And consumers' commitment to this kind of methodology is only growing, and people want to be able to, they want the flexibility and they want the ability to be able to communicate with you. 1 in 2 people we surveyed globally wish they could communicate with more businesses through messaging platforms. This is an important stat because ultimately what this number tells me is that a lot of businesses are not adopting this as part of their plans, and there's a huge opportunity for you as advertisers to kind of jump in there. Just some quick numbers across the globe in terms of shoppers through messaging apps. What you can see here is the largest numbers actually coming through Asia Pacific. We're seeing some really good strategy there, specifically in the live video space, where advertisers are actually running like QV-styled forums where they will showcase an array of products, and then people can actually transact and communicate with them through the live video feed. This is one particular strategy, but this is also transgressing into Europe and Latin America. So again, these numbers will only get bigger and bigger year over year. And one thing we say at Facebook is that we are a full funnel solution. So ultimately, we are a platform that's able to reach people from a brand perspective at the very top of the funnel, but also then kind of close off that purchase phase at the very kind of lower end of the funnel as well. In terms of your communication and conversation strategy, this is what it could look like at each of those stages. So for example, a brand piece in terms of discover could simply be blasting an offer out to some consumers and maybe sending a link for them to go and have a look more about what you do and some of your other services. When it comes to inquiring and purchasing, you're looking at, this is very much a post-purchase activity. You would simply send a message after someone has shopped with you. And then the most important thing in terms of actually reactivating those consumers and increasing that lifetime value is the post-purchase piece. And that's where you would simply be able to communicate with those people who have bought from you already and maybe offer them a complementary product where you can upsell and cross-sell. It delivers across these 4 functions. I touched upon a couple of them a second ago, but ultimately it adds convenience to the consumer journey. instant responses are great. The more accessible you are, the better. It offers flexibility. In fact, people we surveyed actually felt they had the ability to negotiate and bargain prices through messaging platforms. It adds confidence, it adds a layer of trust to you as a business, and also it offers exclusivity as well. And the last point I wanted to make about messaging is this doesn't just necessarily relate to something like e-com. This actually works across verticals. So for example, looking at travel, where there's multiple touch points in that consumer journey, it works very well there. Also in entertainment, where for example, you might be selling tickets for an event and you simply want to notify your users that something's happening. You can also leverage messenger bots as part of that strategy as well. So there are a number of FMPs that enable you the ability to actually automate some of this process and scale it out. It allows you the ability to deliver updates, give basic product details, and also the ability to allow people to actually transact with you through that forum. And what this has created is a whole new ecosystem of buyers. So this stat basically represents that 40% said they had never shopped online until they had tried conversational commerce, i.e. it's actually bringing users who would maybe traditionally shop in store, actually giving them the confidence to purchase online. So as part of your plan, putting some of this into action, the point of this is that you need to offer consideration and inspiration. You need to be able to fulfill and track what you're doing, and also use it as a means for remarketing and increasing that lifetime value. Middle ones basically learn from what you're doing, so add more context, maybe try with different strategies with different customers, and also the same with content. And then finally, the last one is literally just get started. Give it a go. It's very accessible. For example, if you've got a Facebook page, you already have the ability to start messaging your consumers. On to the third trend. The last trend is a long play in terms of what we're looking at Facebook. So one of the key things we're looking at is AR and VR. This slide is slightly deceptive in the fact that this guy's got an Oculus headset on. However, the point of AR and VR can actually be relayed into the context of your ads. So you might have seen them yourself. There's been a couple of global betas that have rolled out recently where sunglass brands, for example, have actually afforded people the ability to try on the sunglasses before they've actually made that purchase. And it actually makes the experience a lot more immersive. The point of AR and VR is that the average person's attention span is now shorter than a goldfish. And I've already touched upon this previously in terms of the video trend that I mentioned. But this really plays into the AR and VR trend that we're seeing as well. So one of the ways that we're kind of combating this issue is through the immersive experience and actually creating more engagement through the context of our ads. This slide represents basically 3 companies that you've probably seen in the press. Blockbuster Video, for example, didn't really see the play in streaming. And then we all know what happened there. Netflix came along and essentially killed the business. But the importance of this is that you can change as a small business. AR and VR seems like a very kind of, I suppose, long-term play and something that might not be straight away actionable, but is something that I'm going to touch upon in a second in terms of the tools that you can use to actually build these assets. One thing I did want to touch upon before I move on to that is anyone can change. So these are some big names. Lego, for example, believed that their consumer was very much just the in-store consumer who only wanted to shop in retail outlets. They've actually since started leveraging messenger bot campaigns and also running some immersive ads on our platform, and it's completely transformed the way they look at their consumers, and actually more people buy online from Lego now than they do in store. Some quick examples of AR immersive experiences. So far right-hand side, e-com client coach. As I mentioned, you can kind of try on the sunglasses within the ad. You've got the beauty brand Sephora here where people can actually try on the different lipsticks. And then Kylie Cosmetics as well, where someone can take a selfie, check their kind of skin tone, and then ultimately purchase from that. So that's a cool idea in terms of a gaming client that actually leveraged augmented reality through the Oculus headsets. I just wanted to put that in there as well to show you the type of things that you could be doing on the App Store for Oculus. I wanted to give you an overview of how you can actually start building immersive experiences using AR and VR. So we've got a tool called Spark AR Studio, which is free to download. This is a place where you would be able to ultimately start building AR and VR assets. It's important because it doesn't require a massive amount of time on your part, and it doesn't require a massive amount of technical know-how or investment either. This is an example of a brand that actually leveraged some of that facility through Spark AR, and they were able to build out a stories ad that looked very much like this. So this is overlaying augmented reality components within stories, and again, creating a very immersive experience for their consumers. Again, very high-end kind of brand. We're looking at Vogue, but ultimately, these are assets that are relatively inexpensive to make if you have the technical abilities in-house to use Spark AR Studios, and it really puts augmented reality into your hands and into the hands of your consumers. So the last thing that I wanted to touch on is, I mentioned we're a full funnel solution. So it's a case of taking everything that we've discussed in terms of video, messaging, and augmented reality, and how we can actually leverage that at each stage of the funnel. So when it comes to discovery, thinking about introducing products like your products or services to new consumers. When it comes to the inquiry phase, can we add any layers of immersive experience into maybe the way that you sell your story to new consumers? Looking at purchases, again, video-based content is always something that's going to drive more efficiencies. And finally, increasing lifetime value at the bottom end of the funnel, where we're actually picking up and re-engaging users post-purchase. And that's that. Thank you very much.